So wow, that Direct was absolutely incredible. From what I've been just seeing on the internet and stuff, seems like this is one of the best received Nintendo Directs of all time. Potentially better than what we got at E3. I mean, I don't know, at E3 we got every character returning, plus Ridley and Smash. I don't know how you can top that, but that Direct, wow, that was way more than I thought we were going to get. Getting Simon and K. Rool in one swoop, and a bunch of Echo Fighters. You know, before I was guessing we weren't going to get that many Echo Fighters, because Sakurai said we're not going to get too many more characters. Now, I mean, the speculation game has totally changed. It seems like, you know, Sakurai's quote about not too many more characters does not apply to Echoes, so wow, I've completely, you know, 180'd on Echo Fighters. We got so much information, the full number of stages, you know, a lot of character deconfirmations. You know, I was wrong about some characters, right about some other characters though, so, you know, I'm sad about the ones that got deconfirmed, but, you know, happy we got, like, Chrom. Dark Samus I didn't think we were going to get, but happy to have her. I like when I'm wrong and we get a character. So, yeah, you know, there's a lot going on. And as far as speculation goes, I'm going to do another video that's going to be a little bit more about just, you know, every leak that's kind of alive right now, going in depth with the big leakers, Vergeben and LOZ18. I'm going to briefly go over them in this video, but I'll go much more into them because they have some other characters now that they're saying, so, you know, we need to talk about that. But again, I'm going to do that as a different video. This video, I'm just going to talk about this one specific leak that has come out that's pretty important, and I just think it deserves to be highlighted because I'm seeing a lot of people just brush it aside, and I think it's just because they don't like the characters that are on it and not because it doesn't have credibility. It has a lot of credibility, and I think if you really scrutinize it, you come to find out that, like, it's pretty logical. So I'm going to go over that today. If you want to see, like, you know, how I felt about the Direct in further detail before I put out that next video, you know, I did a reaction video, so feel free to go watch that. Obviously, I talk a bit about, you know, what we saw afterwards, just my thoughts, my initial thoughts. But if you want more than that, it's coming soon. So today, I'm going to talk about this one leak. The leak I'm going to talk about is, you know, I don't know what to call it, the Richter leak maybe, the Gardevoir leak, you know, potentially you could call it, but it's the one leak that guessed at Richter Belmont correctly, and, you know, it survived the Direct, and it didn't just guess at Richter. It didn't just say, like, I think Richter should be a, you know, Echo Fighter of Simon. No, it guessed at Richter, and it guessed at a bunch of other characters. Two of the other characters are, like, characters that could have easily gotten it deconfirmed. One of the characters is absolute leak poison. Like, if you were going to fake a leak saying this character's in the game, would just get your leak thrown out immediately. The story behind the leak is plausible. I'm not going to say it's a likely story, but it's plausible this is how information was obtained about the game. So before I get into that leak directly, I'm just going to get us caught up briefly. Like I said, I'm going to make another video that goes into this more in depth on LOZ18 and Vergeben, because they're both looking extremely credible. Vergeben guessed Simon Belmont months ago, and so many people said, well, Ridley's an easy guess. I don't think he was super easy, but a lot of people were saying that. So, you know, to guess it's Simon, and we didn't see Simon at E3, we're not going to believe him until Simon shows up. Simon has shown up. So, Vergeben says he has multiple sources, so maybe not everything he says is always true, but he has some real sources, so we really have to look at what he has to say. LOZ18 also has things, you know, that he's guessed, so those are the two leakers to watch. Those are the two, like, real ones. I think after Simon, you know, and even after K. Rool and just knowing what we're going to be getting, like, you really got to watch these guys. So, some new stuff about them. Well, first off, okay, the old stuff. What's missing from their leaks that they said before? Pretty much, Isabelle hasn't shown up yet. Vergeben has since said that he believes Isabelle is an Echo Fighter. Before he wasn't sure, now he's saying Isabelle is an Echo Fighter. LOZ18, there was, okay, so just to get rid of some misinformation on the internet, LOZ18 had a private message posted that said that he does not believe Isabelle's in the game. That was just shown as a private message image. That would be so easy to fake. I have not seen LOZ18 publicly say Isabelle's not in the game, and that he's in any argument over that with Vergeben. I don't see why he would be. I don't think I mean, if Verjuben's saying Isabelle is an Echo fighter, and LOZ-18 claims to not know every character in the game, I don't know why he would come out and say Isabelle's not in, unless he saw it as an assist trophy somehow, but I don't know. I think there's this private message image that's going around. I think it's fake. Disregard it. Until LOZ-18 comes out publicly and says Isabelle isn't in, or he doesn't think Isabelle's in, just disregard that information. One other misinformation about these guys is that so Verjuben sent a private message to LOZ-18 a little bit before the direct, just trying to collaborate with like what he's heard, what LOZ-18's heard, and see if it matches up. And Verjuben said that he was told there would be no Donkey Kong characters in the game. But this was a private message to LOZ-18 asking him what he thought about that. Verjuben didn't come out and say that publicly. I don't think he trusted the source that said it. So, you know, then LOZ-18 took that private message and publicly posted it, and LOZ-18 further said that he does not believe the leak that there's no Donkey Kong characters in the game. Obviously, we have K-Rool, so they were right about that. Despite being told that from some source, they were right about it. That source is not the source telling Verjuben Isabelle. The source telling Verjuben Isabelle is the same source as Simon. So, yeah, this is probably true. So Verjuben in the past has said Minecraft is going to show up in some form. So we don't know if that's a stage or an assist trophy or what. I mean, we got Shovel Knight as an assist trophy, so, you know, highly requested things, and Minecraft might have been pretty requested on the Smash ballot. Can show up as, you know, things like that. Looks like we've gotten all the stages, so I don't know about the Minecraft thing, but there was like 6 spots for stages. Not quite sure if that's DLC or not, but Sakurai seemed to be saying that, you know, 103 is the total number of stages. So we did see that crossplay commercial between Microsoft and Nintendo, so yeah, I still think Minecraft is pretty possible here, and Verjuben has been right about everything else. So yeah, that's one thing he said. And then the other big thing is LOZ-18 has come out and said that Skull Kid is probably in the game. There's definitely some reasons to believe that. We have the moon now as an assist trophy, and Skull Kid's mysteriously missing. I always thought that Majora's Mask is a really iconic thing from the Zelda series. I can show people who don't know Zelda, you know, Triforce, and they'll say Zelda. If I show them Impa, if I show them Tingle, they're like, I don't know what that's from. If I show them the mask from Majora's Mask, they go, oh yeah, that thing, that's from Zelda. Almost everybody knows that. It's all over merchandise and stuff. It got a Mii costume. So, you know, Skull Kid is looking extremely likely. I'll go over all that way more in depth in that other video, but I just wanted to get all the information that these two leakers have said out there first. The other thing that they're talking about is which Pokemon character we're going to get, and this is where it links into our new leak here. So they've both kind of said that they believe there's going to be a new Pokemon character. They've both said it is not Decidueye, Mimikyu, or Lycanroc. We had Mimikyu deconfirmed in this last direct. We had quite a few characters deconfirmed, some of which were a little low-key deconfirmed. You actually had to search around the Smash website to see them. So again, I'll go over all that stuff in more detail in my next video. But for now, just know, you know, Mimikyu that was correct. Mimikyu is not our next Pokemon. And Verjuben has also said that a source has told him it's Incineroar. This was, I think, in the private message to the to LOZ-18 that he admitted that. So Verjuben also, though, hasn't come out and said it's definitely Incineroar. He has said he believes it's a Gen 7 Pokemon, which means that he's not sure which one it is. LOZ-18 also seems unsure which one it is. So there's potential that what's happening here is they've been told 3 Gen 3 Pokemon that definitely aren't in the game, and then been told by a shaky source it might be Incineroar, and now they're just saying we're going to get a Gen 7 Pokemon. Well, maybe we're not getting a Gen 7 Pokemon. Maybe we're just getting a Pokemon. They seem unsure about this one. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And this new leak that survived the direct and guessed at Richter Belmont, who no one was guessing at, and has all these things. I'll go over it in a second here. You know, has a Pokemon newcomer for us that I think seems pretty logical when you really break it down. Okay, so let's go over this leak. I'm going to pull it up and just read through it. So this was posted over on 4chan on July 1st, I believe. So, you know, this is a while ago. This is a pretty old one. So let me just read through it. It says, "Hi, I was working at CEO this year, and I managed to get a copy the demo build used for the tournaments." So CEO is a gaming tournament that's held down in, I think it's like Florida. I believe it's Miami. I could be wrong at the exactly where it is. I think that's where it is. Anyway, continuing. There were a few interesting things in the code for the character select. The Simon Belmont leaker had the Castlevania IP right, but not the character. Rihita, Richter Belmont's Japanese name, was among those listed. Sir Knight, Gardevoir's Japanese name, was among them. Interestingly, Lucina, Darkpit, and Daisy are all listed with their Echo counterparts. Gotharusella, Gothitelle, was underneath her. I presume then that Gothitelle is going to be an Echo fighter of Gardevoir. Mario 2 was listed as a separate character. I have no idea what this means, but if I had to guess, either Paper Mario or Mario 64 Mario. Kururu, King K. Rool, and Darku S, Dark Samus, it was underneath regular Samus, were both listed, unsurprisingly. Obviously, it's a demo build, so there may be more characters who haven't been added to the select screen code yet. Now, there's no images or anything of his data leak, but it's possible that he had to do it, you know, on the fly. It might have been hard to, you know, get somewhere alone with the game, with the demo version of the game for a long period of time to look at that demo and look at that information. You know, he might not have been able to essentially, honestly, steal a copy, or like I said, just get alone with it with you know, some sort of computer or some sort of hardware that he could look at, like a debug mode, or, you know, look at the data. So he might have been doing it really quick. He might not have been able to see everything, and he might not have been able to get, like, you know, any kind of proof, like a screenshot or a picture of the data itself. Okay, so I understand why people are throwing this one out. Gardevoir seems unlikely. Gothitelle seems extremely unlikely. Mario 2 being either Paper Mario or Mario 64 Mario, or I guess you could guess at like Metal Mario, though I think with the metal box in the game that's impossible, also seems unlikely. King K. Rool we got. Dark Samus we got. And then we got Richter Belmont. This one's worth looking at, okay? Let me go over exactly why. He guessed at Richter. He did not say Simon's not in the game, though. He just said that Richter Belmont was in the code. Now, we know from like Brawl speculation and Smash 4 speculation that sometimes these builds of the game go out and they're not complete. Sakurai doesn't put every character in every build to kind of try to prevent leaks and stuff. So it's possible Simon just wasn't in the code for this game and Richter was. This is also the demo build. So, you know, data mining it or looking at the data, you know, that's the sort of thing that, you know, you might either miss over stuff, or, you know, it's just remaining data in the demo that, you know, they probably tried to take stuff out of it, but sometimes a little bit of data gets left over and a character's name is still in the coding. Now, actually getting this information from CEO, the guy would have to have, you know, time alone with the demo to be able to data mine it, or potentially get to, like, I don't know, a debug mode or something to see this information. It could happen. Again, it's plausible. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's plausible how someone could get information. This has happened in the past where people, you know, get stuff. And if you think, oh, the demo wouldn't have other character information in it, I mean, I'm pretty sure Game Freaks has dropped Pokemon demos that people have gotten, like, the whole entire gen, all the Pokemon, like, images and stuff shown out of it. I think Mario Aces, people figured out which characters were in it based on, like, a demo coding. So yeah, I mean, as you know, if you're a game designer, wiping the code out of a game is tough to do when you put out a demo. It's much easier to leave all that code in there. So you know, if Smash, they may have attempted to wipe it and left some stuff in there. So this is potentially a real way to get information. So let me just go down each of these characters here. So first off, Richter Belmont. Again, he didn't guess Simon, but he didn't say Simon wasn't in the game. He just said it was Richter that he saw. So he guessed, yes, Castlevania, and yes, we got Castlevania. I don't think anyone was guessing at Richter. And if you're going to fake a leak, you wouldn't have put Richter over Simon. You would have went with, especially if you're going to do Castlevania in your leak, you're going to go with Simon, the one that Vergeben, the biggest leaker, is saying is in the game. You're not going to switch that up. There's no reason to do that. It just makes your leak seem fake. And then if Simon does get revealed, it makes Vergeben right and you wrong. Instead, this guy went out on a limb and said Richter, and he was right. Okay, that's pretty big. So let me keep going here. So to guess at K. Rool was, you know, a lot of people are guessing at K. Rool, but he didn't guess at Dixie Kong. And most people who were guessing at K. Rool were also guessing at Dixie Kong, especially if they guessed at Echo Fighters. And this guy guessed at 2 Echo Fighters, Gothitelle and Dark Samus. So if you're going to guess at Echo Fighters and you're going to guess at K. Rool, it's just surprising to me that he didn't guess at Dixie Kong. So to keep going, Dark Samus was also kind of a tough, not a tough guess, but she was a tough character to put in because she could deconfirm your leak. Gardevoir's the same way. Now Gardevoir could be shown as a Pokeball Pokemon, and then the leak's dead. Dark Samus could be shown as an assist trophy, and then the leak's dead. So, you know, those are two characters to put into a leak that you're really going out on a limb that they could easily deconfirm your leak. We got a direct, we got shown a bunch of Pokeball Pokemon, we got shown a bunch of assist trophies, and guess what? Dark Samus is playable, and Gardevoir has not been seen as a Pokeball Pokemon yet. So if you're gonna guess at Dark Samus as an Echo, I kind of feel like you probably also guess at Chrom if you're gonna fake a leak. If that's your train of thought, those two characters were very, very similar. Now, I personally was guessing at not too many Echo Fighters. I was guessing that, you know, we'd get about as many Echo Fighters as we got in Smash 4 because Sakurai was saying not too many more characters. If you look at who are Echo Fighters now, compared to Smash 4, we got Dark Pit and Lucina. So I guessed we'd maybe get like 2, and I was guessing like Chrom and Impa. Those were the 2 I was thinking. Dark Samus was a pretty good guess too, though. I just thought personality-wise it wasn't going to be able to show through. They did an amazing job. I love the way they showed it. I think this personality does show through. I think she does look different, and she does seem to play a little different, and the parameters for Echo Fighters are much more loose now, especially Chrom has been shown to have like a bunch of... He's more like a mashup of Fire Emblem characters, so again, the parameters for what makes someone an Echo Fighter this time around, very fuzzy, so... You know, it just wasn't what I was thinking at. But, again, okay, so if you're going to fake a leak and you say Dark Samus, let's look at why you would say Dark Samus. Dark Samus was an assist trophy that hasn't been shown. It was a costume for Samus that also hadn't been shown. What does Chrom have going for him? He was a costume of Ike that wasn't shown, and he wasn't shown in Robin's Final Smash. They're kind of equal, so if you're going to guess at multiple Echo Fighters and think that the game's going to have a lot of them, and I think if you're saying Gardevoir has an Echo Gothitelle, then you're one of the people who's guessing a lot of Echo Fighters. So if this guy was faking it, I feel like he would have added more Echo Fighters. Again, Dixie seems to be like it should be someone who goes along with K. Rool, and Chrom seems like someone who, if you think Dark Samus is in the game, you'd probably also think Chrom is in the game. So, and of course Chrom is in the game. I'm not saying like, oh, you know, he got it wrong. What I'm saying is that he added Dark Samus, he didn't add Chrom. It just seems more real. It seems like he really just saw this data. Yeah, so, and Dark Samus, again, can kill your leak. Gardevoir can kill your leak. They're right there. Alright, so moving on. Mario 2. So this one's a little tricky, because I don't think Paper Mario's in the game. I do, however, think Geno's in the game, and I think Geno might be the final character, especially after we've gotten K. Rool here. It really feels like the big fan-favorite characters are getting in. The characters that people have wanted since, like, the Brawl days are getting in. They're finally happening. You just look around the internet right now, people are hopeful for characters like Geno. So why would it be Mario 2? Well, I honestly think Geno might be the final character revealed in this game. Call me biased here, but I feel like this game has, like, you know, its mantra here is everyone is here. It's putting in characters like Ridley, like K. Rool, characters we've been waiting for years. So how would you end the game off with a bang? You give us Geno, the character no one thought could have a chance that all the fans wanted. He's a big one. I mean, again, personally, I'm a little biased here, but I'm picturing a final direct, something like the Inkling reveal with the Smash Ball in the sky, but instead of just some of the characters, we have all the characters. Because Sakurai said in the last direct that he's going to reveal every single fighter before the game comes out. So we are going to know the full cast before the game comes out. So picture every single fighter under the Smash Ball, all of them revealed, and then you got Geno, and like Mario sees him or something, and you know, he's reunited with his old friend, and he like shakes his hand or gives him a nod, and they turn and they walk towards the full cast of characters, and it just says everyone is here, and it ends. I know this is really like a personal thing for me, obviously Geno biased on my end, but like, I really think that could be how you end the game. Now, if you are going to end the game with a big bang and it's going to be Geno, there's all the more reason to hide Geno more than any other character, because that's your final punch. That's the character you don't want anyone to know. So it's possible that in everything they have for Smash, they're coding his name. And Mario 2, I mean, Mario's like, you know, if you're going to just use a generic character to blank slate characters that aren't in the game yet, Mario, just using Mario's name works. And the fact that Geno is a Mario character and you just call it Mario 2, I think it's a great way to hide Geno in the code. So I kind of feel like that might be what's going on here. I think that potentially solves that one. I don't think it's Paper Mario. I don't think it's Mario 64. I think it's probably Geno code being found in the game. Again, call me biased. I think it has logical sense to it. All right. So now the final piece, and probably the one that's, I think, making people really throw this one out. I think if this had guessed Richter Belmont, King K. Rool, Dark Samus, Mario 2, and Waddle Dee and Isaac, people would be like, oh my god, Waddle Dee and Isaac are definitely confirmed. This guy guessed Richter. This is definitely happening. But no, he guessed strange Pokemon, who people find, I think, illogical. And they are kind of thinking it butts heads with the Vergeben and LOZ-18 leak, but the way I just, kind of displayed out how they're saying Gen 7, a random Gen 7 Pokemon or an unknown Gen 7 Pokemon, I think it's pretty possible they just don't know what the Pokemon is. So it's possible we get something like this. Now, let me just jump into it. So Gardevoir and Gothitelle are odd choices. They're not the sort of choices that you would just come up with, again, if you're faking a leak. Specifically, I can't even say specifically Gardevoir, because Gothitelle is a terrible choice. People would just go, they're going to instantly throw your leak out, which is what's happening here. Gardevoir is a pretty bad choice too, though, almost worse than Gothitelle, because it's a Pokeball Pokemon and can kill your leak as soon as that gets shown, which it had a very real possibility of getting shown during the Direct. Gardevoir's been a Pokeball Pokemon before, so, just her returning, or him returning, I know it's a Pokemon, but Gardevoir already always kind of made me assume it was a female, I don't know, whatever. So, if you put a Pokeball Pokemon in the game, or in your leak, and it shows up in the game, it just kills it. It's done. So, to have both those, they're bad choices to fake a leak over. So why would you do it? I don't think you would. But there's some logic to it if you try to put yourself in Sakurai's shoes for why you would pick these characters. Alright, so we had a Smash ballot. And on the Smash ballot, you could type in a character that you wanted, and you could also write in what your reason for that character was. And this is where I think Gardevoir and Gothitelle suddenly start to make sense. So the Smash ballot probably got flooded with Pokemon requests. I don't think there was probably any one Pokemon that really stood out over any other Pokemon. There's 700 plus Pokemon at this point. I think if people were writing in, all their favorite Pokemon and everything, obviously, there would maybe be like 20 to 50 that are like fan favorite ones, but I don't think any out of those 20 to 50 Pokemon is going to have like double the votes of any of the other ones. So you're going to end up with, a lot of potential choices that people like. I know Sceptile was really popular back then. We just had the remakes of Gen 3, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So, Gen 3 was pretty popular. If, this is when Smash went into development. It was proposed to go into development in 2015. The rosters probably decided, early 2016 or something. Yes, Gen 7's going into development then, and yes, Sakurai got Greninja last time, but he kind of went out on a limb and chose Greninja, and it was, there was a potential that people wouldn't like Greninja. So maybe he didn't want to do something unsafe this time. So maybe he looked back at Gen 3 Pokemon, as that was a game that was out, and I do think a lot of people, again, were guessing at Sceptile. People were guessing at Sceptile, or voting for Sceptile, because Charizard, Greninja, Sceptile would give us 3 fully evolved starters of the different, different typings. You'd have a grass one, a fire one, and a water one. So if you had Sceptile, you get the grass one in there. But now that we have Pokemon Trainer back, it doesn't seem like we need the grass final starter, because Charizard's really more part of the Ivysaur, Squirtle, Charizard trio than he is trying to finish this trio with Greninja. So you don't really need to add a grass starter here. However, Sceptile is a Gen 3 Pokemon. Now again, so there's a lot of Pokemon getting voted at. I don't think any one of them stood out. Again, I don't think any one of them had double the amount of votes. However, I do think if you were to look at what people wrote in for their reasoning why those characters are the ones that they want, I think you would maybe find a common thread. And that would be that they want the Pokemon because it's from a gen that isn't represented yet. A lot of people would say, I want Sceptile, and then they go right in, the reasoning for Sceptile, and they'd say, because Gen 3 isn't represented yet. I think that Sakurai probably saw that. And if there's one thing about all the Pokemon votes that got an overwhelming majority, I would wager it was I want this Pokemon because this generation isn't represented. Now, also in Smash 4, Gen 2 isn't represented. So you have Gen 2, Gen 3, and Gen 5 all not represented. So every Pokemon that was voted for in the ballot that are from those gens has the potential for someone to write down in the comment section of their Smash ballot vote, it's because this gen isn't represented. So now put yourself in Sakurai's shoes. He's making Smash Brothers Ultimate. Ultimate. A Smash that's ultimate. Repping every single gen seems like something you might try to do, especially after the Smash ballot, if you had a lot of people talking about that. So you're going to bring all the characters back. Well, there you go, you get Pichu. So Gen 2 is represented. I know Pichu's not the best representation for Gen 2, but it works. Now, also, we're not supposed to get too many more characters, or at least not too many more newcomers that are completely new. So Sakurai has to, you know, give us characters and not focus on giving us like 3 Pokemon. So how can he do it? Returning all the veterans gives you Pichu. Gen 2, done. So now you have Gen 3 and Gen 5 not represented. So you kind of have to look at what Pokemon is really popular that I could warrant putting in Smash from either Gen 3 or Gen 5, who also could have an Echo Fighter from the other gen. That's how you get 2 more in. You get a Pokemon from one gen and an Echo from the other gen. So who's a popular Pokemon that could potentially warrant inclusion in Smash? Gardevoir, I think, is popular enough. It's a popular enough Pokemon that, yeah, it could be included in Smash. Checks off Gen 3. It's from either Gen 3 or Gen 5. And then which Pokemon could be an Echo Fighter of it from Gen 5? Gothitelle. I don't think there's too many other Pokemon that are popular enough to warrant an inclusion and then also have a Pokemon from the other unrepresented generation that, you know, fit that bill that could be an Echo Fighter of that Pokemon. Gardevoir and Gothitelle work here. And, I mean, really think about how Sakurai is looking at this game. It's Smash Brothers Ultimate. Everyone is here. If you're a kid and, like, I'm a Gen 1 kid, you know, like Gen 1, Gen 2, those are my favorite gens. You know, so I get a ton of representation in Pokemon stuff. But I think Sakurai is very much so aware that there are younger kids who grew up with, you know, a lot of people I hang out with and I know are a little younger than me. They love Gen 3. That's their favorite gen. There are definitely kids much younger than me who Gen 5 is probably their favorite gen. You know, there's really young kids. Gen 6 is probably their favorite gen. So, you know, to be Sakurai and know that there are kids out there, but Pokemon stood the test of time. And there are kids out there who, you know, grew up with all these different generations of Pokemon, and they might feel left out in Smash, that their generation isn't represented. And yeah, I know, if you're growing up with Gen 5 and you get Gothitelle, it's not the best representation, but hey, at least it's there. And I think Sakurai is trying to do that. I think that would make more sense than guessing at which Gen 7 Pokemon is going to be popular before Gen 7's out, and hopefully getting it right with Greninja, like he did with Greninja. And now, you know, there's always talk it's going to be Incineroar, who, if you ask the fans, they really wanted Decidueye, so he would have gotten it wrong if he guessed Incineroar. No, I think the better idea is you go and you try to represent every gen up until that point, up until the point of when the roster is being chosen, which is 1 through 6, which we'd have if you had Gardevoir and Gothitelle at this point. And then for DLC or something, you add a Gen 7 Pokemon. And then we'll have all the gens represented. I think this is something Sakurai could potentially have wanted to do. This makes sense to me. It's not that crazy. I don't think this leak should be thrown out because our biggest leakers are guessing Gen 7 Pokemon but don't know who it is, and because Gothitelle doesn't seem like a likely character. I would have said Richter's not a likely character. This guy guessed Richter. It was right. Just saying. So, yeah, that's kind of just how I feel about this leak. Again, there's a lot of things that could have killed it. If Dark Samus was shown as an assist trophy, would have been gone. Gardevoir shown as a Pokeball, would have been gone. Richter not being in the game, would have been gone. But it survived. I don't think we can toss this one out. That's way too much, like, credibility in my opinion. Honestly, LOZ18 and Verjuben shakily guessing at Incineroar doesn't convince me it's Incineroar anymore. It could be that.